Caution, chosen ones. Something unprecedented is happening right now, and if you're watching this, you've already felt it. November 23rd isn't just another date on the calendar. It's a cosmic checkpoint, a spiritual dividing line that separates those who are awake from those who are still sleeping through the greatest energetic shift of this entire year. This Sunday carries a frequency so rare, so potent, that ancient timekeepers would have marked it as sacred, as untouchable, as the kind of day when the veil between worlds becomes thin enough to step through. And here's what most people will never understand. This new moon isn't behaving like other new moons. It's different. The energy signature is abnormal. NASA's own magnetometer readings have detected unusual fluctuations in Earth's magnetic field during this exact window. And while scientists scramble to explain it with solar wind patterns and geomagnetic disturbances, those of us who are spiritually attuned know the truth. This is a gateway, a portal, a once-in-a-lifetime alignment that's already begun rewiring the consciousness of everyone who's sensitive enough to feel it. If you woke up on November 23rd feeling different, feeling changed, feeling like something fundamental shifted inside you overnight, congratulations, you didn't imagine it. The gateway worked on you, and what I'm about to share with you are the 9 undeniable signs that prove you've been activated, transformed, and permanently altered by this rare lunar event. But first, let me be absolutely clear about something. This video isn't for everyone. Most people will scroll past this message completely oblivious to what's unfolding. They'll go about their Sunday routines, never noticing that reality itself has been recalibrated. They'll miss the window entirely. But you're here. You clicked on this video because something inside you recognized the truth in the title. That inner knowing, that magnetic pull that brought you here, that's already your first confirmation. The gateway doesn't call to everyone. It only speaks to those whose frequency matches its message. And if you're feeling a strange sense of urgency right now, if there's a tingling in your spine or a pressure in your chest as you listen to these words, that's not anxiety, that's recognition. Your soul remembering what your mind has forgotten. So pay attention, because what happens during this new moon window on November 23rd will determine the trajectory of your entire next chapter. This isn't motivation, this isn't inspiration, this is activation. And once you understand what's really happening, you'll realize why this Sunday is the most important day you'll experience all year. Let's start with what makes this particular new moon so extraordinarily different from every other lunar cycle you've lived through. New moons happen every month, yes, but this one carries a triple-layered energetic signature that only occurs once every several years. First, it's positioned in Sagittarius, the sign of the seeker, the explorer, the truth finder. Sagittarius energy doesn't whisper, it demands expansion. It forces you to look beyond your current limitations and see possibilities you've been trained to ignore. Second, this new moon forms a rare harmonic aspect with Jupiter, the planet of abundance and miracles, creating what astrologers call a cosmic amplifier. Whatever you plant during this window doesn't just grow, it explodes. Third, and this is the part that most spiritual teachers won't tell you, the Schumann resonance, Earth's natural electromagnetic heartbeat that normally pulses at 7.83 Hertz, has been spiking wildly in the days leading up to November 23rd. We're talking about sudden jumps to 15, 20, even 30 Hertz. For those who don't know, the Schumann resonance directly affects human consciousness. When it spikes, sensitive individuals experience heightened intuition, vivid dreams, and spontaneous awakenings. Scientists can't explain why it's spiking, but spiritually aware individuals know exactly what's happening. The planet itself is preparing for this gateway. Earth is tuning its frequency to match the incoming cosmic transmission, and your body, your energy field, your consciousness, they're all trying to sync with that new frequency right now. This is why so many people have been feeling off for the past 72 hours. Restless nights, unusual fatigue mixed with sudden bursts of energy. A sense that time is moving strangely, like hours are stretching and compressing in ways that don't make logical sense. You might have noticed your dreams becoming more vivid, more symbolic, more urgent. Perhaps you've been waking at odd hours, especially between 3 and 4 in the morning, that sacred window when the veil is thinnest. These aren't random symptoms. They're your system responding to the gateway activation. Your physical body is literally upgrading its capacity to hold higher frequencies. Think of it like installing new software. There's always a period of adjustment, glitches, restarts, recalibrations. That's what you've been experiencing. And if you've been feeling emotionally raw, if old memories have been surfacing without warning, if you found yourself crying or laughing for no apparent reason, understand this. The gateway doesn't just open doors. It also clears out everything that's blocking those doors. Old traumas, ancient patterns, outdated beliefs, they're all being flushed out of your system to make room for what's coming. This process isn't comfortable, but it's necessary. You can't step into your upgraded reality while carrying the weight of your old one. Now, here's where it gets even more interesting. This new moon on November 23rd is what spiritual traditions would call a 0 point. It's a moment of absolute stillness, absolute darkness, absolute potential. In the darkness of a new moon, there is no reflected light. The moon is invisible, and in that invisibility, in that void, infinite possibilities exist simultaneously. This is why new moons have always been associated with manifestation, with intention setting, with planting seeds in the fertile darkness. But this particular new moon isn't just offering you the chance to manifest, it's demanding that you do. Because the energetic pressure building during this gateway is so intense that if you don't consciously direct it, it will direct itself. An unconscious manifestation is dangerous. Whatever you've been thinking about obsessively, whatever fears have been looping in your mind, whatever doubts you've been feeding, those patterns will crystallize into reality if you're not paying attention. This is the shadow side of powerful manifestation windows. They amplify everything, the light and the dark, the hopes and the fears. So the question isn't whether you're manifesting right now. You absolutely are. The question is, what are you manifesting? Are you consciously directing this energy toward your highest vision, or are you unconsciously feeding it to your deepest wounds? Let me tell you something that might sound strange, but is absolutely true. The gateway that opened on November 23rd doesn't just affect individuals. It affects the collective consciousness of the entire planet. Right now, there are millions of people around the world who are feeling this shift simultaneously. They don't know each other. They'll never meet, but they're all experiencing the same symptoms, the same signs, the same activation codes firing off in their energy fields. This is what creates tipping points in human evolution. When enough individuals reach a certain frequency at the same time, it creates a resonance wave that lifts everyone else with it. You're not just experiencing your personal awakening right now. You're part of a massive collective awakening that's happening across the entire human species. And the fact that you're here, watching this video, understanding these concepts, that proves you're one of the nodes in this network. You're one of the chosen ones who agreed, before you were even born, to be awake during this exact moment in history. The gateway didn't just work on you by accident. You were designed to respond to it. So what does this mean practically? What should you be doing right now during this window? First, understand that this Sunday isn't a day for business as usual. This isn't the time to distract yourself with meaningless tasks or numb yourself with endless scrolling. The energy available to you right now is sacred. Treat it that way. Create space for stillness. Even if it's just 15 minutes, find a quiet place where you can sit with the frequency that's moving through you. Don't try to figure it all out intellectually. Don't try to force clarity or manufacture answers. Just be present with whatever you're feeling. The gateway speaks in sensations, not sentences. It communicates through your body, through your emotions, through sudden knowings that bypass logic entirely. If you feel called to write, write. If you feel called to move, dance, walk in nature, follow that impulse. If you feel called to cry or rage or laugh hysterically, let it move through you. This is energy in motion, and emotion is how it releases and recalibrates. Suppressing it now would be like trying to hold back a tidal wave. You can't stop this force. You can only learn to ride it. And here's something most spiritual teachers won't tell you because it sounds too intense, too absolute, but I'm going to say it anyway because you need to hear it. If you ignore this gateway, if you dismiss what you're feeling right now as stress or coincidence or imagination, you will regret it. Not in some dramatic, catastrophic way, but in the quiet, aching way of knowing you missed your moment. Because these windows don't stay open forever. The energetic intensity of November 23rd will peak on Sunday and then begin to fade. By the time Monday arrives, the portal will start closing. And while you'll still be able to access some of the energy in the days that follow, it won't be the same. It won't have the same raw, unfiltered potency. This is your moment, right now. Not tomorrow, not next week, not when you feel more ready or more worthy or more prepared. The universe doesn't wait for you to feel ready. It sends the opportunity and then watches to see if you're brave enough to grab it. So if there's something you've been putting off, some decision you've been avoiding, some truth you've been too afraid to speak, this is the time. The gateway is holding the door open for you, but you have to walk through it yourself. Before we go deeper into the 9 signs, I want you to do something for me right now. If you're feeling this energy, if something I've said has resonated in your bones, drop the words, "I am awake," in the comments below. Not for me, not for validation, but as a declaration to the universe that you're conscious, that you're present, that you're ready to receive what this gateway has to offer. There's power in public declaration. When you state your truth out loud, when you claim your awakening in a space where others can witness it, you lock in that frequency. You make it real. So, go ahead. Type, "I am awake" right now. And if you want to take it further, share what you've been feeling these past few days. Because I guarantee you, there are others in this community who are experiencing the exact same things. And when you see your experience reflected in someone else's words, it confirms that this isn't in your head. This is real, this is happening, and you're not alone in it. Now let's talk about the first sign that the gateway has already activated you. Miracle number 1 begins with a disruption in your sleep patterns. And I'm not talking about simple insomnia or stress-related restlessness. What I'm describing is something far stranger and far more significant. In the nights leading up to and immediately following November 23rd, many activated individuals have reported waking up at very specific times, particularly between 3 and 4 in the morning. This window, often called the witching hour or the hour of the soul, is when the veil between physical reality and spiritual dimensions is at its thinnest. But here's what makes this different from ordinary middle-of-the-night waking. When you wake during this gateway activation, you're not groggy or confused. You're instantly alert. Your mind is sharp, almost too sharp. You might feel a strange electricity in your body, a buzzing sensation that runs through your nervous system like you've been plugged into some invisible power source. Some people describe it as feeling hyper-present, as if every cell in their body is awake and listening. This is your pineal gland, your spiritual antenna, receiving direct transmissions from the cosmic frequencies flooding through the gateway. Ancient mystics understood this. They knew that true spiritual downloads don't happen during waking hours, when the rational mind is in control. They happen in the spaces between sleep and waking, when your consciousness is fluid enough to receive information that doesn't fit into your normal understanding of reality. But the sleep disruption goes beyond just waking up. Many people are experiencing what can only be described as active dreaming. These aren't the usual scattered, nonsensical dreams your brain produces during REM sleep. These are vivid, coherent, intensely symbolic experiences that feel more real than waking life. You might find yourself in landscapes you've never seen, but somehow recognize. You might have conversations with beings, people, entities, presences that communicate profound truths without speaking words. You might receive instructions, guidance, warnings, or prophecies that make perfect sense in the dream but seem impossible to translate once you wake. Don't dismiss these experiences. Document them. Write them down the moment you wake, before your rational mind has a chance to filter or forget them. Because these dreams aren't random, they're initiation ceremonies. They're your soul's way of showing you what's being activated inside you, what gifts are coming online, what missions are being downloaded into your consciousness. And here's the part that will sound unbelievable, but is absolutely true. Some of you are not just dreaming during these hours. You're traveling. Your consciousness is literally leaving your physical body and exploring other dimensions, other timelines, other realms of existence. This is astral projection, and it's happening spontaneously to activated individuals during this gateway window. If you wake up feeling exhausted, despite having slept 8 hours, if you have vague memories of being somewhere else, doing something important, but can't quite remember what, if your body feels strangely heavy or disconnected when you first wake, these are signs that your consciousness has been journeying while your body rested. The second sign that proves the gateway worked on you is an overwhelming sense of urgency mixed with absolute clarity. And this is where things get really interesting, because this combination doesn't make logical sense. Urgency usually comes from anxiety, from fear that you're running out of time or missing something important. But the urgency you're feeling right now isn't fear-based, it's purpose-based. It's the sudden, unshakable knowing that you have work to do, that you came here for a reason, and that the time to begin is now. This isn't vague or abstract, it's specific. You might not know all the details yet, but you know the direction. You know the next step. And most importantly, you know you can't keep waiting for perfect conditions or perfect timing. The gateway has stripped away all your excuses. It's burned through the doubt and hesitation that's been keeping you small. And now you're left with nothing but raw, unfiltered purpose. This is the gift of Sagittarius energy, amplified by a new moon. It doesn't let you hide anymore. It forces you to aim your arrow and shoot, even if you can't see the target clearly yet. And mixed with this urgency is a clarity you've never experienced before. Decisions that seemed impossible become obvious. Relationships that seemed complicated reveal themselves as simple, either aligned or not aligned. Career paths that seemed confusing suddenly show their truth. This way forward, that way stagnation. The mental fog that's been clouding your vision for months or even years is suddenly gone. You can see, you can think, you can know. And this clarity isn't coming from your logical mind. It's coming from somewhere deeper, from your soul's wisdom, from your higher self, from the part of you that's always known the truth, but couldn't get through the noise of your ego and conditioning. If you're feeling this urgency and clarity right now, if you're suddenly seeing your life from a completely different perspective and realizing that everything needs to change, drop the words "I receive" in the comments below. Because that's exactly what you're doing. You're receiving the transmission. You're downloading the codes. You're letting the gateway work its magic on you. And when you publicly claim, "I receive," you're telling the universe that you're open, that you're ready, that you're willing to let go of who you were so you can become who you're meant to be. So go ahead, type "I receive" right now. Let it be your agreement with destiny. Let it be your yes to the transformation that's already underway. Now, before we continue, I need to tell you something urgent. What I've shared with you about November 23rd is only part of the story. There's something coming on November 30th that only 1% of awakened souls will be prepared for. And December 1st, everything changes. I've recorded a members-only briefing that reveals exactly what's about to happen and why you need to know before it's too late. This isn't something I can share publicly in this video. The information is too specific, too potent, too restricted. But if you're feeling called right now, If something inside you is saying, "I need to know this," go to the description below immediately and click on the video titled "Warning to All Chosen Ones." Watch this before November 30, or wait until the end of this video and click on the end screen. But don't wait too long. What I reveal in that briefing has a time limit. After November 30th passes, the window closes, and what you didn't prepare for, you'll have to face unprepared. This is your only warning. Don't ignore it. The third sign that the November 23rd gateway has successfully activated you is something most people won't talk about because it sounds too strange, too unscientific, too impossible to explain. But if you're experiencing it, you know exactly what I'm about to describe. It's a physical sensation that feels like electricity or vibration moving through your body, particularly concentrated in specific areas. Many activated individuals report tingling in their hands and feet, as if energy is quite literally pouring out of their extremities. Others feel a pressure or pulsing sensation at the crown of their head, right at the top of the skull, where the crown chakra sits. Some describe it as feeling like someone is gently pressing on that spot, or like there's a portal opening at the top of their head. This isn't imagination. This isn't psychosomatic. What you're experiencing is the literal upgrade of your energetic circuitry. Your chakras, those spinning wheels of energy that ancient yogis mapped thousands of years ago, are expanding their capacity to process higher frequencies. Think of it like upgrading from old copper wiring to fiber optic cable. The energy moving through you is faster, brighter, more intense than what your system was designed to handle before, and that upgrade process creates physical sensations. The tingling in your hands is particularly significant because your hands are transmitters. They're how you direct energy into the physical world. If you're someone who works with healing, with creation, with manifestation, you need your hands to be able to channel higher frequencies. The gateway is literally rewiring your ability to touch the world differently, but the physical sensations don't stop at tingling. Many people report strange temperature fluctuations that seem to have nothing to do with their environment. You might suddenly feel intense heat flooding through your body, waves of warmth that make you want to strip off layers of clothing, even though the room temperature hasn't changed. Or you might experience sudden chills, cold that seems to come from inside your bones rather than from outside. These are not symptoms of illness. These are symptoms of transformation. Your physical body is a dense, slow vibrating form of energy, and when higher, faster frequencies move through it, friction occurs. That friction creates heat. When your old energy patterns are being cleared out, when stagnant emotional debris is being flushed from your system, that process creates cold. Your body is literally burning away what no longer serves you and freezing out what refuses to leave voluntarily. If you've been experiencing unexplained hot flashes or sudden chills, especially during meditation or quiet moments, this is confirmation that the gateway is working at the cellular level. Your DNA itself is being activated. Scientists have discovered that human beings have what they call junk DNA, strands of genetic material that appear to serve no function. But spiritual scientists, those rare individuals who bridge the gap between mysticism and biology, know better. That so-called junk DNA isn't junk at all. It's dormant potential, waiting to be activated when humanity reaches the right frequency. And events like this November 23rd gateway are activation keys. They flip switches in your genetic code that have been off for lifetimes, sometimes for generations, sometimes since the fall of ancient civilizations that understood consciousness in ways we're only beginning to remember. And then there's the heart. If you've been experiencing unusual sensations in your chest, if your heart has been racing for no apparent reason, if you've felt strange fluttering or pressure around your heart center, pay very close attention. Your heart is not just a pump that moves blood through your body. Your heart is the most powerful electromagnetic generator in your entire system. It produces an electromagnetic field that extends several feet beyond your physical body. And that field is how you interact with the energetic reality around you. The Institute of Heart Math, a research organization that studies the intelligence of the heart, has proven that the heart sends more signals to the brain than the brain sends to the heart. In other words, your heart is actually running the show. It's the primary processor of intuitive information. And during this gateway activation, your heart is expanding its capacity to feel, to know, to connect with frequencies that were previously beyond your range. If your heart has felt tender, vulnerable, raw, or overwhelmingly full of emotion, that's because it's literally growing, not physically growing in size, but energetically expanding its field. You're becoming capable of feeling things you couldn't feel before, of sensing truths that were invisible to you, of connecting with other people and with the universe itself in ways that will completely transform how you experience reality. This tenderness, this vulnerability, is not weakness. It's your superpower coming online. The fourth sign that proves the gateway worked is a sudden and often uncomfortable shift in your relationships. And this is where the activation gets real, where it stops being abstract spiritual concepts and starts showing up in your actual life in ways you can't ignore. In the days surrounding November 23rd, you may have noticed that certain people in your life suddenly feel different to you. Conversations that used to flow easily now feel forced or draining. People you once enjoyed spending time with now trigger irritation or exhaustion. And it's not that they've changed, it's that you have. Your frequency has shifted, and when your frequency shifts, everyone and everything in your life that isn't matching that new frequency becomes immediately obvious. This is one of the most challenging aspects of spiritual awakening, and it's something many teachers don't prepare people for. They talk about love and light and expansion, but they don't talk about the profound loneliness that can come when you outgrow your current social circle. They don't talk about the grief of realizing that people you love dearly simply can't meet you where you are anymore, but this is part of the process. This is the gateway doing its work. It's not punishing you, it's protecting you, because you cannot step into your next level while maintaining relationships that are anchored in your old level. It doesn't work. The energy doesn't match, and trying to force it creates nothing but friction and suffering. Here's what's actually happening on an energetic level. Every relationship operates at a specific frequency range. That frequency is determined by what the relationship is built on: shared values, mutual growth, genuine love, or perhaps something less healthy like codependency, obligation, fear, or habit. When you undergo a significant frequency shift, as you are right now during this gateway activation, the foundation of every relationship in your life gets tested. Relationships built on authentic connection, on mutual respect, on genuine care, those relationships will actually strengthen during this time. They'll evolve, they'll deepen, even if there's temporary discomfort or awkwardness as both people adjust to the new dynamic, the core bond will hold. But relationships built on unstable foundations, on what you can do for each other, on shared dysfunction, on keeping each other small, those relationships will crack. They have to, because you can't maintain a false connection when you're vibrating in truth, and the gateway is pure truth frequency. It doesn't allow pretending, it doesn't allow performance. It demands authenticity. So, if certain friendships or family dynamics or romantic relationships are suddenly feeling wrong, if you're experiencing conflict or distance with people who used to be close to you, don't panic, don't assume you've done something wrong. This is the natural result of evolution. You're not losing people, you're shedding skins. And what's underneath, your true self, your authentic frequency, your real purpose that needs space to breathe and grow without being constrained by connections that no longer fit. Now, I need to address something that many of you are feeling but are afraid to admit. Along with the discomfort in old relationships, you may be experiencing a strange, almost magnetic pull towards certain new people, or toward people you've known casually but never connected with deeply. You might find yourself thinking about someone you haven't spoken to in years, and then suddenly they reach out to you. Or you might have a chance encounter with a stranger that feels significant, like this person appeared in your life for a specific reason. These are not coincidences. This is the gateway orchestrating divine appointments. When your frequency shifts, you become visible to people who match that new frequency. It's like you've suddenly appeared on a radar that you weren't on before. And simultaneously, people who match your old frequency start to fade from your awareness. This is how the universe reorganizes your life to support your evolution. It sends you the teachers, the allies, the mirrors, the catalysts you need for your next chapter. But here's the catch. You have to be willing to release the old to make space for the new. You can't have one foot in your past and one foot in your future. The gateway demands a choice. And for many of you, that choice is becoming unavoidable right now. Who are you going to be? Who are you going to surround yourself with? What kind of energy are you going to allow in your space? These aren't casual questions. These are destiny-defining decisions. And the clarity you have right now to make those decisions, that's another gift of the gateway. The fifth sign is something that happens internally, something that might not be visible to anyone else, but is absolutely undeniable to you. It's the sudden collapse of old belief systems and the spontaneous knowing of new truths. Let me explain what this feels like. You might be going about your day, doing something completely ordinary, and suddenly a thought enters your mind that challenges everything you've believed about yourself, about the world, about how reality works. And it's not that you're considering this new idea or weighing whether it might be true. You simply know it's true. It's like someone flipped a switch in your consciousness and illuminated a room that was always there but you'd never seen before. These moments of sudden knowing can be disorienting because they often contradict beliefs you've held for your entire life. Beliefs about what's possible for you, beliefs about what you deserve, beliefs about how much power you actually have. The gateway doesn't just open doors to new possibilities, it shatters the walls that convinced you those doors didn't exist in the first place. And this process can feel destabilizing, even frightening, because your sense of identity is built on your beliefs. When your beliefs change radically and suddenly, your sense of who you are has to reorganize around that new information. Many activated individuals report experiencing what can only be described as spontaneous downloads of information. You suddenly understand concepts you never studied. You have insights into situations you've never experienced. You possess knowledge you can't explain how you acquired. This is gnosis, direct knowing that bypasses the normal channels of learning. Ancient mystery schools trained initiates for years to achieve this state of consciousness, this direct connection to universal knowledge. But during powerful gateway events like November 23rd, this state can happen spontaneously to those whose frequency is ready to receive it. Your brain is not generating these thoughts, your brain is receiving them, like a radio tuning into a station that's always been broadcasting, but you couldn't hear before. And the information coming through isn't random, it's specifically tailored to you, to your journey, to what you need to know right now to take your next steps. Some of you are receiving information about your life purpose, sudden clarity about why you're here and what you're supposed to be doing. Others are receiving healing knowledge, understanding about past traumas or patterns that have been running your life without your conscious awareness. Still others are receiving prophetic information, glimpses of future timelines, warnings about paths to avoid, confirmations about directions to pursue. All of this is happening because the gateway has temporarily dissolved the barriers between your conscious mind and your higher consciousness, between your human awareness and your soul's wisdom. But here's where it gets tricky, and this is something I need to warn you about. Not every thought that enters your mind during this period is truth. The gateway doesn't just amplify the signal from your higher self. It also amplifies everything else, including fear, doubt, and lower vibrational frequencies that might be trying to interfere with your activation. This is why discernment is absolutely critical right now. How do you tell the difference between a genuine download from your higher consciousness and a fear-based thought from your ego, or something worse? There's a simple test. Truth has a specific feeling signature. When a genuine insight comes through, it feels calm, clear, certain, and spacious. Even if the information is challenging or requires you to make difficult changes, there's a sense of peace underneath it. A knowing that says, yes, this is right. Fear-based thoughts, on the other hand, feel constrictive, agitated, urgent, in a panicky way, and they're usually accompanied by spiraling worst-case scenario thinking. If a thought makes you feel small, powerless, hopeless, or trapped, it's not coming from your higher self. It's coming from the parts of you that are terrified of change and are trying to keep you locked in your comfort zone. The gateway is bringing everything to the surface, both the light and the shadow, and your job is to recognize the difference and choose consciously which voice you're going to listen to and act from. If you've experienced any of these spontaneous downloads, if you've had moments where you suddenly just knew something you had no logical reason to know, I want you to honor that experience by dropping the words, "I feel awakened," in the comments below, because that's exactly what's happening to you. You're waking up to levels of consciousness that have been dormant inside you, perhaps for your entire life, perhaps for multiple lifetimes. And when you publicly acknowledge this awakening, when you claim it in a space where others can witness it, you solidify that new level of awareness. You make it permanent. So go ahead right now. Type "I feel awakened" and let that be your declaration that you're stepping fully into this new consciousness, that you're embracing the truth of who you really are and the power you actually possess. Don't let modesty or fear of judgment stop you. This is your moment. Claim it. The sixth sign that the gateway has activated you is a dramatic shift in your relationship with time. And this is one of the strangest, most difficult to describe symptoms. But if you're experiencing it, you know exactly what I'm talking about. Time is not behaving normally. Days are blurring together. You might lose track of what day of the week it is, even though you're following your regular schedule. Hours seem to compress or expand in ways that defy logic. You sit down to do something, and what feels like 15 minutes turns out to be 2 hours. Or inversely, you spend what feels like an entire afternoon on a project and discover only 30 minutes have passed. You might experience moments of déjà vu so intense that you're convinced you've lived this exact moment before. Or you might have the opposite experience, a sense of jamais vu, where familiar places and people suddenly seem strange and unfamiliar. These temporal distortions aren't signs that something is wrong with you. They're signs that you're beginning to perceive time the way it actually is, as a flexible, malleable construct, rather than the fixed, linear progression you've been conditioned to believe in. Einstein proved that time is relative, that it moves at different rates depending on gravity and velocity. But what he discovered mathematically, mystics have known experientially for thousands of years. Time is not an external force that governs your life. Time is a perceptual experience that changes based on your consciousness. And right now, your consciousness is fluctuating wildly as you adjust to the new frequencies flooding through the gateway. Ancient cultures understood this. They knew that certain days, certain moments, existed outside of normal time. The Mayans built their entire calendar system around this concept, identifying specific dates when the veil would thin and time would behave differently. The Celts celebrated Samhain as a day when the boundaries between past, present, and future dissolved. Aboriginal Australians speak of dream time, a state of consciousness where linear time ceases to exist and all moments exist simultaneously. What you're experiencing right now is a glimpse into that non-linear reality. The gateway has temporarily lifted the veil that keeps you locked into sequential, clock-based time perception. And in that lifted state, You're catching glimpses of your multidimensional nature. You're not just existing in this moment right now. You're simultaneously existing in multiple timelines, in past and future versions of yourself, in parallel realities where different choices led to different outcomes. And all of those versions of you, all of those timelines, they're becoming momentarily visible to your conscious awareness. This is why you might be having vivid memories of things that never happened, or prophetic feelings about events that haven't occurred yet. You're not imagining these experiences, you're genuinely perceiving across time. And while this can be disorienting, it's also an incredible gift. Because once you realize that time is fluid, that the past is not fixed, and the future is not predetermined, you gain access to a level of creative power that most people never even imagine is possible. You can literally rewrite your timeline from this moment forward. You can choose which version of your future you want to collapse into reality. But you have to be conscious, you have to be intentional, and you have to act during this window while the gateway is still open and the timelines are still malleable. I need to pause here because there's something you need to understand about what happens after this gateway closes. November 23rd opened the door, but November 30th is when the real test begins. And December 1st is when the separation happens, when those who prepared step into one timeline and those who didn't step into another. I've been shown what's coming, and I've recorded everything in a private briefing that you need to watch before November 30th arrives. I'm talking about specific dates, specific signs, specific actions you must take. This isn't general spiritual advice. This is precision guidance for what's directly ahead. The video is linked in the description below, and it will appear on your screen at the end of this video. It's called Warning to All Chosen Ones, Watch This Before November 30. Only 1% will actually click on it. Only 1% will take this seriously enough to prepare. The question is, are you in that 1%? Or will you be one of the 99% who ignores the warning and then wonders on December 1st why everything suddenly feels different and you're not ready? The choice is yours, but you're running out of time to make it. The seventh sign that the November 23rd gateway has successfully activated you is perhaps the most profound and the most challenging to integrate into your everyday life. It's the sudden, overwhelming awareness of energy, not as an abstract concept, but as a tangible, perceivable reality that you can feel, see, and interact with. If you've always been somewhat sensitive to energy, this gateway has amplified that sensitivity 100-fold. But even if you've never considered yourself empathic or energetically aware, you might suddenly find yourself feeling things you can't explain. You walk into a room and immediately know something happened there, even though there's no physical evidence. You meet someone new and instantly feel their emotional state, their intentions, their hidden wounds, without them saying a word. You touch an object and receive information about its history, about who owned it, about what emotions are imprinted in its molecular structure. This isn't fantasy. This is your energetic perception coming fully online. Every single thing in physical reality, every person, every place, every object is made of energy vibrating at different frequencies. And most people go through their entire lives completely blind to this energetic reality, perceiving only the physical surface. But the gateway has removed that blindness for you. You're beginning to see the world as it actually is, a vast ocean of intersecting energy fields, constantly interacting, constantly influencing each other. This newfound sensitivity can be overwhelming, even frightening at first. Suddenly, you're picking up on things you wish you couldn't feel. You're aware of other people's pain, their fear, their anger, and it's affecting you as if it were your own. You might find yourself avoiding crowds or public places because the intensity of all that energy is too much to handle. You might need to limit your time on social media or watching the news because you're not just reading about events anymore, you're feeling them, absorbing them into your own energy field. This is completely normal for someone undergoing energetic activation. Your boundaries are still forming. You haven't yet learned how to be open and sensitive while also being protected and grounded, but these skills will come. Right now, what's important is that you recognize what's happening and that you don't shut down this gift out of fear. Because this energetic sensitivity, once you learn to work with it, is one of the most powerful tools you'll ever possess. It allows you to navigate life with a level of wisdom and intuition that goes far beyond what your 5 physical senses can tell you. You'll know who to trust before they prove themselves trustworthy or untrustworthy. You'll sense opportunities before they fully materialize. You'll detect dangers before they become obvious. You'll understand people's true motivations beneath their words and actions. This is not mind reading. This is energy reading. And it's a natural human ability that our modern culture has trained us to ignore and suppress. But the energetic awareness goes even deeper than sensing other people and places. Many activated individuals are reporting that they can now feel the Earth herself, the planet's electromagnetic field, her rhythms, her responses to what's happening on her surface. You might find yourself suddenly caring deeply about environmental issues you never paid attention to before. Or you might experience physical symptoms, headaches, nausea, fatigue, right before earthquakes or solar storms or other planetary events. This is because your nervous system is now synced with the planetary nervous system. You're no longer separate from the Earth. You're consciously connected to her. Indigenous cultures have always maintained this connection. They never lost it. But those of us raised in modern, technological societies have been disconnected from the planet for generations. The gateway is restoring that connection, and with it comes both responsibility and power. Responsibility because you can no longer pretend that what happens to the Earth doesn't affect you personally. And power because when you're connected to the Earth's energy, you have access to a source of grounding, healing, and regeneration that is literally limitless. If you've been feeling called to spend more time in nature, to touch the Earth with your bare feet, to sit with your back against trees, to swim in natural bodies of water, follow those impulses. They're not random. They're your system's wisdom, guiding you to the exact medicine you need to integrate this activation. And then there's the awareness of non-physical beings and presences. This is the sign that many people are most hesitant to talk about because it sounds too far out, too unbelievable, too easy to dismiss as imagination or mental instability. But I'm going to say it plainly, because those of you who are experiencing this need to know you're not losing your mind. The gateway has thinned the veil between physical and non-physical reality, and many of you are now perceiving beings, entities, consciousnesses that exist in frequencies just beyond the range of normal human perception. For some, this shows up as sensing presences in your home, feeling like you're being watched or accompanied, even when you're alone. For others, it's seeing shadows or lights moving in your peripheral vision, flickers of movement that disappear when you look directly at them. Some are having direct contact experiences, communications with guides, angels, ancestors, star beings, or other forms of consciousness that are trying to assist humanity during this transition. If this is happening to you, the first thing you need to know is this: not all non-physical beings are benevolent, but most are. The majority of entities that are drawn to awakening humans are helpers, teachers, and protectors. They're showing up now because you're finally vibrating at a frequency where contact is possible. Think of it like this: they've always been there, trying to reach you, but you couldn't hear them. Now the gateway has turned up your receiver, and suddenly you can. However, and this is critically important, just because something is non-physical doesn't mean it's wise or trustworthy. There are entities in the non-physical realms that are confused, stuck, or operating from lower vibrational intentions. This is why discernment is essential. The same test I gave you earlier for distinguishing between higher guidance and ego-based thoughts applies here. How does this presence make you feel? If a being or entity communicates with you and you feel expanded, peaceful, empowered, curious, and loving, that's a sign of a benevolent presence. If you feel contracted, fearful, controlled, manipulated, or depleted, that's a sign of something that does not have your best interests at heart. And here's your sovereignty. You always have the right to say no. You always have the right to set boundaries with non-physical beings, just as you do with physical people. If something doesn't feel right, you can firmly state, either out loud or in your mind, "You are not welcome in my space. Leave now," and it must comply. This is universal law. Your free will is sacred. Nothing can violate it without your permission. The problem is that many people give permission unconsciously, through fear, through fascination, through desperation for guidance or answers. Don't do that. Stay grounded, stay sovereign. Welcome only the presences that truly serve your highest good. The eighth sign that proves the gateway worked is a complete restructuring of your priorities and values, happening at a speed that might be shocking even to you. Things that mattered desperately to you just last week now feel utterly meaningless. Goals you've been pursuing for months or years suddenly seem hollow, like they belong to a different person who is no longer you. And simultaneously, new priorities are emerging with crystal clarity, directions you need to move in, changes you need to make, truths you need to speak, even if they disrupt everything you've built. This is not a crisis, this is an awakening. The gateway has shown you what's real and what's performance, what feeds your soul and what drains it, what's aligned with your authentic path, and what's a detour you've been on for far too long. And now that you can see the difference, you can't unsee it. You can't go back to pretending that the things that don't matter actually matter. You can't continue investing your precious life energy into pursuits that your soul knows are dead ends. This recalibration of values is one of the most disruptive aspects of spiritual awakening, because it often requires making choices that other people won't understand or support. It might mean leaving a career that looks successful from the outside, but feels spiritually suffocating on the inside. It might mean ending relationships that appear functional, but are actually preventing your growth. It might mean disappointing people, breaking commitments, walking away from situations you thought you'd be in forever. And here's what makes this so difficult. The rational mind will fight this process every step of the way. Your ego, that part of you that's invested in safety and predictability and other people's approval, will generate every possible reason why you shouldn't make these changes. It will remind you of all the time and energy you've already invested in your current path. It will warn you about all the risks and uncertainties of changing direction. It will paint catastrophic pictures of what might happen if you follow your inner knowing instead of sticking with what's familiar. But underneath all that mental noise, there's a quiet, steady voice that knows exactly what needs to happen. That voice is your soul, and the gateway has amplified it to the point where you can no longer ignore it. So you're faced with a choice that is simultaneously terrifying and exhilarating. Do you listen to your soul or your ego? Do you choose authenticity or safety? Do you honor what's true, even if it disrupts everything? Or do you continue pretending in order to keep the peace? There is no right answer that works for everyone. This is your journey, your choice, your life. But I will tell you this, every person I've ever known who had the courage to follow their soul's direction through these kinds of massive transitions, even when it looked crazy from the outside, every single one of them looks back and says it was the best decision they ever made. And every person who ignored their inner knowing out of fear, who chose security over authenticity, who waited for the perfect moment that never came, every single one of them carries a quiet regret about the path not taken. The gateway is offering you a chance to choose differently, to choose truth, to choose alignment, to choose the life your soul actually wants, rather than the life you think you're supposed to want. But that opportunity won't stay open forever. The energetic support, the cosmic backing, the universal assistance that's available to you right now during this activation window, it will begin to fade as we move further from November 23rd. This doesn't mean you can't make changes later. Of course you can. You always have free will. But it means those changes will be harder, will require more effort, will face more resistance. Right now, the gateway is holding the door open for you. The universe is saying, go, now. I've got your back. And when the universe is supporting your transformation this powerfully, when cosmic forces are literally conspiring to help you step into your destiny, that's when you move. You don't wait. You don't hesitate. You don't need to have all the answers or see the entire path. You just need to take the first step, and then the next step will reveal itself, and then the next. This is how destiny unfolds, not through perfect planning, but through courageous action taken in alignment with inner truth. Now, before we get to the 9th and final sign, I want you to do something powerful right now. If any of what I've shared has resonated with you, if you recognize yourself in these signs, if you're feeling the activation happening in your own body and consciousness, I want you to drop the words, "I harness this lunar energy," in the comments below. This isn't just a random phrase. It's a declaration of intention. It's you consciously claiming the power that's available to you right now through this new moon gateway. Most people will let this energy wash over them passively, will experience the symptoms without understanding what's happening, will feel the shifts without directing them. But you're not most people. You're here, you're awake, you're aware, and that means you have the ability to work with this energy consciously, to harness it, to direct it toward your highest vision. When you type, "I harness this lunar energy," you're not just leaving a comment, you're casting a spell, you're programming your reality. You're telling the universe, I'm not a passive recipient of whatever happens to me, I'm an active co-creator of my experience. And I'm choosing to use this gateway energy to manifest my highest timeline. So do it right now. Type, "I harness this lunar energy," and feel the power of that declaration move through your body as you do. This is magic, real magic, the kind that changes lives. The 9th and final sign that the gateway has successfully activated you is the most important one, and it's the sign that confirms all the others. It's the emergence of unshakable inner knowing that you are exactly where you're supposed to be, doing exactly what you're supposed to be doing, becoming exactly who you're meant to become. Despite the chaos, despite the uncertainty, despite the discomfort of transformation, there's a deep peace underneath it all. A knowing that says, this is right, this is my path, I'm not lost, I'm not broken, I'm not behind schedule, I'm exactly on time. This knowing doesn't come from your logical mind. Your logical mind is probably still freaking out about all the changes happening. This knowing comes from your soul, from the part of you that exists beyond time and space, the part that chose to be here in a human body during this exact moment in history, specifically to go through this exact transformation. Before you incarnated into this life, before you took on this body and this personality and this set of circumstances, you knew this gateway was coming. You knew November 23rd, 2025 would be a pivotal activation point, and you volunteered to be here for it. You said yes to this mission. You agreed to wake up, to transform, to become a beacon of higher consciousness during humanity's greatest transition. Before you go, there's one final thing I need you to do, and it's critical. November 30th is exactly 7 days away from this gateway activation. 7 days. And what happens on that day will determine whether you successfully integrate this activation or whether it slips away from you. I've recorded a special briefing that reveals the hidden timeline between now and December 1st, including the specific warning signs that will tell you if you're on track or falling back into old patterns. This briefing is only for those who are serious about their awakening, for the 1% who don't just consume spiritual content, but actually apply it and transform their lives with it. If that's you, if you're committed to walking through this gateway all the way to the other side, then you need to watch that briefing before November 30th arrives. You'll find it linked in the description below. It's titled Warning to All Chosen Ones. Watch this before November 30. It will also appear on your end screen when this video finishes. Click on it immediately. Don't bookmark it for later. Don't tell yourself you'll watch it tomorrow. Watch it now, today, while the November 23rd activation energy is still fresh in your system, because what I reveal in that video will only make sense if you watch it during this window. After November 30th, it will be too late. The information will still be true, but the opportunity to act on it will have passed. Don't let that happen. Click now.